As an artist, I think all mediums have merit, but especially animation. I think it has just grown in leaps and bounds in recent years with the digital age and the digital medium. And this one from Arcane, I think, is some of the most superior visuals that you can ever get to see. So that's why I was so excited to have a go of something from the show. I love the show, looking forward to the next season. So let's see how I end up, let's see how I go. I've always loved animation right back as a kid. I'm not sure why certain types of media appeal to different people, but there's a marvellous animated movie made out of New Zealand called Foot Rot Flats, and I think that has some of the finest animation that I've seen pre-sort of digital, and this was made sort of in the 80s, Foot Rot Flats. It was about a farmer and his sheepdog. Very cute sort of story, but it was a comic strip that I used to watch. So I think having a bit of a connection to your subject is always important. And this is a scene from Arcane. Over the years, I've been sort of keen to watch different sort of storytelling as well. And even though Arcane, which is from the game League of Legends made by Riot, it is mostly a city-based one. So this was kind of just a small little snippet of it that I think not only did I relate to, but I think thought was just an interesting scene, because I've never or rarely ever painted sort of that foggy landscape, and I have to give my props and my high credit to the artists and the artists who did work on the animation. Some incredible vision and images. So this one was just a step away from what I normally do, but I thought it was still super interesting. So if you would like to see me do more of this sort of stuff from areas, maybe I'll even get round to doing a Foot Rot Flats painting, even though I've been to New Zealand quite a few times. But yeah, just leave a comment in, or if you have a favourite, maybe not Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse, they're a little too simplified, but it's something that I have always loved, and I think I've always admired also the creative visual storytelling as well, because when we see a movie, it's kind of filming mostly real life. Now we have the super special effects, which will take just a blank image and put transformers in, or you know what. But this was fun. But funny thing is, even when sort of doing a master copy or a copy of another artist's work, there's always a certain level of, will I still have enough control to do it justice and to pull it off as well? Yeah, there's always that little bit of uncertainty. But I felt with this one right from the start, it was just one that clicked, and there's actually the figure in the foreground, which really does provide great compositional. You can see it's right in on that axis of 1/3, 2/3, 2/3 down, 1/3 up, 1/3 in. So all the compositional colour, probably with a lot of the digital art, it's a slightly different delivery process. It'd be quite a slow process if every image had to be oil painted, which I believe they did a Van Gogh show on. Thankfully, I didn't have to change brushes, my palette at all. The interesting thing with the actual scene, I went into it thinking, oh, you know what, the mountain's great, the sky, it's got some stars out, the foggy, misty mid-ground, the pine trees, the grassed area, you know what, that's all good. But there was actually quite a few big flowers in the foreground, and I thought, oh geez, that can look a little cliched and a little too cutesy and pretty, but I think once I got down to that, when I was starting to think, okay, if I'm not going to put them in, what shall I do? Shall I put grass or a fence post or something? I realised, perspective-wise, the flowers do provide, so it's that forced perspective, small shape but appears big in the foreground, knowing that there's a huge big mountain behind. It was, as they say, don't try and reinvent the wheel, just go with it. Even though I was not concerning myself too much with every little flower and detail, it was more an exercise, I think, for me, for the foreground of achieving depth. And I think for me, that's the illusion of depth is super important as well. And that's why I've always spoken about, and whether it's on my online course or when I'm teaching or doing any video, is just the sheer importance of that bottom third of a painting. Actually, you may notice I actually dipped the end of the brush into the white and dotted the stars in. I didn't use the bristle, which I kind of just made up in the moment, actually, because I'd normally put moons and suns and all that sort of thing in with the brush, but I thought, you know what, let's see how that works. If it didn't work, I can always use the bristle. So once again, the painting process, I believe, should be thin, getting that wash down with the values, one value darker, one value warmer. Then we need to consolidate, we need to put thicker paint in. So that's when I'm loading up the brush more, so that first layer is super thin as possible, and I don't mind if I can see a bit of the board coming through. That's ultimately not too much of a concern. I always work wet in wet. I find that's the greatest way to get the greatest blending and the greatest effects. I am using archival lean medium, which does allow, after about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the time, the temperature of the day, that does allow my painting to set up after about that amount of time. So with the trickier areas, the more complex areas, I will be putting them off, knowing that I need, not so much because they are difficult, but the physics of oil paint requires drying time. So as much as I would love to paint twice as fast, a lot of times I am tempered to the paint drying. Hopefully I've done justice to this scene, and I'd like to thank the folks from Riot for their great creation as well, and the inspiration for this scene and this painting. And I really do look forward to the new season coming out, and I hope this inspires you to watch Arcane as well. So hope you enjoyed it. All the best. Bye for now.